Modigora, OMEN, MAKI. Welcome back, God Knight enjoyers, to another One Piece post-game show. This time for chapter 1180. Just in case this is your first time tuning into one of these videos, what we like to do here is that we like to scour through and look at all the comments from the previous video just to get the community reaction to NERONA's rampage here in Elbaf. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, sorry, I usually have like slippers down here. Let me show you guys. So I have like slippers that mark where I'm supposed to stand, and they weren't ready this time. So, boom, here we go. Top comment, it says, bro, was waiting for centuries to put on that Elbaf drip. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that, man. Why does Emu have Elbaf attire on? Does it change from island to island? And even then, will we see Emu in a change of clothes? Because surely he has like a celestial dragon outfit, maybe like a black tux like the Gorosei, which he would look really fire in, by the way. I think Gorosei'd out Emu would go pretty damn hard. I want an outfit change for the main villain. The next comment says, Emu, I'm avenge Herald. Loki, I'm gonna avenge Herald. Emu and Loki, question mark, yeah? It's kind of funny how that happened, right? Emu was like, yo, who killed my servant? I am here for that guy. And Loki said, so you're the one who did that to my father, huh? Pretty crazy stuff. I do like that Emu said, hey, if you never existed here in Elbaf, things would have went by so smoothly. And that is true. When you really think about it, if Loki was not present in Elbaf that day, Shanks and Gabon would have lost. Maybe that's a hot take, but Herald would have really gotten Elbaf under the world government's flag. And Emu, he probably would have conquered the world. Of course, we don't really know what that looks like, right? It's hard to imagine Elbaf mobilizes and then boom, the world is completely under the WG, but that is what Emu kind of implied. And hell, even Big Mom said the same thing, right? If I had Elbaf under my thumb, I'd be Pirate King. You know, we would have ruled the world, man. We cannot underestimate these dumb giants. This comment says, I simply can't wait for the cover story to show us Yamato dancing naked like Odin. Funny you say that. When we were in the midst of the canon Yamato cover pages, I really thought that this was in the cards. It's like, yo, it's perfect fan service, the type of fan service, mind you, that Oda loves. It would be, again, another parallel to Odin. We know that Yamato knows about this. I thought it was a slam dunk, but lo and behold, it did not happen. So please, if you're sending in requests for the cover page, drop this right here. Say you want Yamato dancing naked like Odin. Oda, I betcha he'll be happy to do it. This says, Emu, throwing gang signs is crazy. Yeah, dude. The gang signs are cool, by the way. He has this for MAKI, and then he does have this for Domi Reversi. And I also like to imagine that this is also for, you know, the Celestial Dragons, the hoof. But yeah, the way Emu is moving out here, it kind of throws me back to Naruto, where you got all the hand jutsus going on. Emu is a different beast. This says, Emu's design reminds me so much of Enel. Shirtless, baggy pants, a round Hagoromo behind the back, which is reminiscent of Enel's drums. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, hell, even the way they refer to themselves like a god, the way that they both have a flying ship that can destroy islands, there's so many parallels there that I wouldn't be shocked if Emu has a similar backstory, albeit hopefully more in-depth than Enel's. Enel, we know that he was a Birkin who killed every Birkin out there, and then the irony of it is that he went to the moon, Endless Verth, to find out that that is where the Birkins originally came from. So it's like a nice ironic story. I wonder if Emu will be the same way. And this could back up the theory that I've seen a lot of people kind of hop on board of, but it's the theory that Emu is a fallen Lunarian because of his wings. I don't necessarily subscribe to that right now, but if that's what you want to go with, that would be an Enel parallel, right? Maybe Emu is a Lunarian hybrid, or just a straight up Lunarian, and he killed all the rest of his race. And here he is, the sole survivor. And then, of course, he does have one person that's just off to the side, that being King, who survived the onslaught. Kind of like how Arouge is heavily speculated to be a surviving Birkin. Again, I don't necessarily believe in this idea, but I do like the theory. I do not think it is that bad. You know, Emu is looking more like a pirate than a celestial dragon. Does he? Emu looks like a pirate? In what world, man? I mean, I get it, right? Celestial dragons, goofy, fat, spacesuits, business suits. I can see what you're going for here because pirates are all like very diverse. Like you got giants, you got Kaido, you got big moms, whitebeards, etc. But Emu's like a straight up devil. Like he doesn't look like a pirate in my opinion. He doesn't look like a celestial dragon. He straight up looks like a character that we ripped off from another anime. That is how absurd he looks. But I get what you're saying though. And generally, I do agree with you. If we had to pick between the two, he does err more towards pirate. But of course, you know, celestial dragon transformations with the Gorsei, he does fall in line with them. But, you know, let's not count them. Let's think about the majority of celestial dragons who are just fat slave owners. This says, I'm surprised nobody is talking about the lack of dialogue in this chapter, really emphasizing the presence of Emu. Yes, and I really enjoy it. You know, I do think the lack of dialogue, while it is sad, because I kind of want Emu to be a chatty Cathy, because I want the lore, it makes sense. And I do think it is aura, for lack of a better word, because Emu really is just going around speed running everything. He looks around, who's the king? No answer. Boom, free St. Somers, MAKI, get rid of all the immediate threats that are attacking him, flies over, sees Gunko, boom, saves Gunko, goes on, saves Killingham, and now he's fighting Loki. He is efficient. I do not think we have seen a villain this efficient before. Some people might mention Kaido, like, oh, you know, Kaido immediately ran the fade with Luffy. That is true. But that wasn't Kaido's initial intentions. Kaido was drunk. He was going around Wano looking for Jack, you know, talking to Ashura Doji. Luffy wasn't even on his radar yet. You know, he just happened to stumble upon him, and then he one-shot him, and then, of course, threw him in Udon Prison. And I'm trying to think back to other villains as well. Arlong was surprisingly proactive. He did try to go around and, you know, find the threats within Kokoyashi Village, but somehow, some way, you know, the Straw Hats always just kind of eluded him. So I guess that's another villain who really did try to, like, you know, make moves. Hody Jones, nah, I wouldn't really say so. He was just doing his thing and then the Straw Hats ran into him. Doflamingo, you would like to imagine that Doflamingo was proactive because he showed up at Punk Hazard. But after that, he went back home to Dressrosa and said, yo, let's throw a Coliseum party, right? Emu is by far the most efficient villain. What he did in one chapter, the amount of plot points that he speed ran, insurmountable right now. Chopper has got some work to do. Yeah, he's got to stitch back Stanson's leg. He's got to reattach Garrett's fingers. And he's got to heal Zoro. He's got a lot of work in store for him. And I am curious, you know, when it comes to Chopper, of course, a couple weeks back, not confirmed yet, a big theory was that Chopper is the forest god. His devil fruit is more than meets the eye. Unfortunately, we did not get a Chopper and Emu interaction yet. I want to see if Chopper transforms, if Emu will react to it, or maybe Emu witnesses Chopper undoing Domi Reversi, and then maybe Emu throws out a comment like, oh, it's you again, huh? I don't know. Again, I do think that Emu holds all the answers. If there's one guy in the series that knows everything, that's still alive, because, you know, Joy Boy is a thing, it's Emu. It is Emu. Emu asking, where is your king? Very much reminds me of Beru from Solo Leveling, and he effed up everybody. Ooh, I need to rewatch Solo Leveling, but yeah. Season 2, the Beru Jinwoo fight was phenomenal. Emu is all the 20 original kings, and that is why Rocks called him the Rat King. Yep, shoutouts to an older theory. I do enjoy this a lot. I hope that we do see the other original kings and queens from the Void Century. And if Emu is simply all of them, I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. Again, I put this in the same camp as the Fallen Lunarian theory. I think it's a lot of fun, but there's not a lot to back it up yet, minus this line right here. As far as Emu goes, I do hope in general that we do see the other 19, or should I say 18, because we're gonna know about Lily, 18 original kings and queens. I don't know if you guys play Final Fantasy XIV, but one of the endgame boss fights, and I believe Shadowbringers, is against the Warrior of Light. Spoiler for DLC that's like, I think 5 years old by this point. But during that battle, he has like this flashback of all of his friends from the past, people that you've never met before, and they all come in to help him for his ultimate attack. I hope Emu has the same thing, where maybe he has like this ultimate MAKI fireball attack, and then right beside him, you know, powering him up, are the other kings and queens. But that is a wish on a star, because we actually do not know if they like Emu or not. We know that Lily, of course, did not like him, but what about all of the others? A big theory, or big, speculation, is that all of the other kings and queens were betrayed by Emu. There's still a lot of mystery when it comes to the Void Century backstory. But bringing it back to the brass tacks, in general, I just hope we see these guys one day. This says, bro, got Domio Versi'd in the intro. Emu saying to Sommers, we don't have a lot of time, is an easy way of saying it's a time limit fight. Yes, and Oda loves his time limits. I do not think that there's been many arcs in One Piece that have not had some sort of time limit. When did it start? What was the first time limit arc? Was it Skypiea? Sort of. Of course, Luffy dispelled the time limit by, using the golden ball to get rid of Enel's giant thundercloud. But I guess we could consider that a time limit fight. Then we had Enies Lobby. Of course, they were getting Buster Call. That is a time limit. Going on a Thriller Bark, the dawn rising and that, evaporating all the strats. That is a time limit. Going to Sabaody, we didn't have a time limit there. They simply had to flee from Kizaru, Kuma, and Sentomaru. Going over to Impel Down, there was a time limit. I would consider Magellan the time limit there. The minute he catches up to you is the minute you're screwed. And then, of course, they did have to secure the marine battleships, which is what Mr. One, Crocodile, Buggy, and Jinbei had to do. Marineford, is Marineford a time limit fight? Kind of, because they did work against the clock to free Ace, but, the Marines, every single chance they got, tried to execute Ace before the time limit. So I guess you could count that in a roundabout way. Going over to Fishman Island, the Noah falling, that's a big one. Next, we go to Punk Hazard. Yes, we had a time limit in a way because we had the gas that was, running up on us, and that gas would petrify you and kill you. Well, it wouldn't kill you because Chopper and everybody else could fix you later, but that would petrify you for a long time. And then we had Dressrosa, iconic one, the birdcage, and that gave us like an actual time limit. Then we go over to Whole Cake Island, Big Mom's Hunger Pangs, alongside the whole, hey, I'll rendezvous with you guys at, I think it was like 1 o'clock a.m. or something. So that was a big thing. Going over to Wano, 2 time limits, technically. We had the Conjuro Fire that was going to go down to the bottom of Onigashima and blow it up. And then we had Onigashima that was slowly moving over to the flower capital, and then Kaido was just going to drop it and then pretty much kill everybody in the capital. So yeah, we've had a lot of time limits, brother. So Elbaf having one too, not surprising. And then for Egghead, of course, we did have a Buster Call there too. It is a good time for a dragon to save his son again. I do like this. I have seen a lot of people hopping on board the theory that somebody's gonna have to come and bail us out. Because a lot of people, which, I'm on this boat, believe that Emu can simply beat Loki, Luffy, and pretty much everybody on this island with ease. So, with that being the case, will we hit the time limit for Emu and then he has to go? Or will somebody stop by and stall Emu out until we hit that time limit? And of course, a lot of people do put onus on Dragon and or Shanks to be that guy. Personally, I wouldn't mind it. I feel like it would just be kind of odd for Dragon to come to Elbaf all of a sudden. If he came here, it would have to be for a good reason. And there's only 2 reasons I can think of right now. 1, Dragon knows about Elbaf's situation, and he wants the Giants to join the Revolutionaries. That's option 1. Or 2, Sabo, who does have Luffy's Vivid card, shows Dragon that it is burning up. Which is funny because, a lot of people are wondering, where the hell was Luffy's Vivid card back in Wano when he did actually die? That is a big question. But yeah, Dragon could realistically come here. The only problem is that his hands are tied, but he did say that Luffy is his greatest weakness. He would slide for his son, and Sabo even said that he would drop the Revolutionaries entirely to save Luffy. So this wouldn't be bad. I would personally enjoy this a lot, and it would be nice if not just Dragon shows up, but Big News Morgans, Waphole, Vivi, and we have like a whole powwow about what happened at the damn Reverie, right? Because the Straw Hats still haven't caught up to all that information yet. So I think that would be pretty damn cool. And also, on top of that, we could get the Bonnie, Sabo, and Kuma reunion. Dragon and the Revs coming to Elbaf. I do enjoy this. I think it is a good theory, and I am on the train. But it doesn't have to happen, right? I also would prefer it if Luffy and Loki witnessed Emu alone, and then Dragon simply shows up afterwards. As long as we get the Dragon interaction in general, I'm cool with it. And then there's the next candidate that people talk about all the time, and that is, of course, a red-haired Shanks. which funny enough, that is the next profile picture as well. Shanks is a theory that I'm not super high on. I do not want him to come to Elbaf because I feel like that would be very weird. Keep in mind, Shanks just left Elbaf not too long ago. He declared that he wanted to become Pirate King. He wanted to find the One Piece. I do not think Shanks has any reason to really come back here, minus the fight Emu, which is a good reason, mind you, but I do feel like it'd be very odd for him to do it. You know, I feel like Shanks' goal will be the Holy Land and the One Piece in general, so coming here to Elbaf when Luffy, Loki, and everybody else is here instead, I just don't really see it. And then another thing about Shanks, too, would be the Loki plotline. The reason Luffy initially started helping Loki and, you know, going to look for the key and unchaining him is because Loki said that he knows where Shanks is heading. He knows where Shanks is going, and he's going to give Luffy that information after Elbaf is over. And Loki did admit that that is true. He wasn't lying about that either. So I do think that by the end of Elbaf, we will get that info from Loki, and then we'll simply go to Shanks afterwards. That is my personal take. Again, could be wrong. You know, we had the whole thing with Marco, where Marco said he wasn't going to Wano, and then guess what happens? He goes to Wano. So yeah, anything is possible, but I am more on board the Dragon train than I am the Shanks train. This says, I feel bad for Gerd, bruh. Emu did not have to do that. Oh, he did. He 100% did. Emu, that nasty giant, in Emu's eyes, was holding up his buddy Summers, playing with him like he's a magnet. Hopefully, she gets her fingers fixed. Poor Gerd, she looks so innocent. Okay, I will admit, the only reason I feel bad for Gerd is because she's kind of cute. But in general, I mean, she's a warrior, she's a pirate. This is just a part of the life, man. You know, if she didn't want her fingers chopped off, she shouldn't have been playing with Saint Summers. It's as simple as that. Killingham and Summers do seem extra excited about receiving Omen. And Summers taking off like a DBZ extra all of a sudden does even look like he got some sort of power-up. Dude, I love that. Yeah, I see it, man. The way they blast off from the Western Village, it does remind me of like the Ginyu Force. He seemed so excited. So as far as the power-up goes, I think that has to happen. Because, dude, Summers got dealt with in a single blow. Killingham got dealt with off-screen. I think the reason Oda rushed those fights, one, because they're kind of weak in relation to the Straw Hats, but two, because Oda didn't want to draw a fight twice. He simply wanted to wait for when they get that MAKI power-up to show what they're all about. So I do agree with you. I think that they did get a massive, nasty power-up. Word on the street, I don't know who started this awful, awful rumor. People are saying Saint Summers might be Kaido level now. People are saying he might be on the level of Akagami no Shanks. Ooh, I don't know about that, but I mean, that's a nasty rumor. You know, I don't believe it. We'll see. Emu saw freezing Gunko. Emu ain't stopping and start blasting. Yeah, he did a little drive-by, man. Like I said, he is efficient. And again, it is notable that he did not give her MAKI. I do not think Emu actually trusts Gunko right now because she is in the midst of getting her memories back. Which, you know, I've seen people saying that Emu wasn't trying to thaw the ice. Instead, Emu was simply trying to kill her, which I guess could also make sense too because she is currently rebelling, but we'll see. Base level though, I don't think she's dead, even if his intentions were to harm her, and that's because we still need that Princess Shuri and Brook backstory. Zoro hasn't put on his bandana and Sanji hasn't seen Emu hit a woman. There's still hope. I'm gonna be honest, man, even if they did lock in, I don't think they're beating Emu. You know, I think for Zoro and Sanji, they're probably just gonna get back up, and they will do this, right? They're gonna get powered up, you know, Sanji in Jirama mode, Zoro with his bandana, and they're probably just going to end up fighting St. Summers and Killingham. I can't see them running it back on Emu and being successful here in Elbaf. You know, maybe in the final war, Zoro and Sanji show up and they actually deflect Emu. Like Sanji kicks away his leg, you know, Zoro cuts the tail. But as far as right here goes, they're done, man. They're so done. Emu saving the God Knight was one of my favorite parts of the chapter. A villain taking care of his subordinates, even if it was most likely for pure selfish reasons. It was great to see. I also found it strangely adorable to see Killingham so excited to see him. I mean, hey, even St. Summers was excited, man. You know, he was in the middle of Gerd's fingers and he said, "Oh, chief, boss." It's great. It is so fantastic. And like you said, it probably was for selfish reasons because, of course, if they die, he does seemingly take damage. but there is a chance he cares about them, right? You know, this isn't the first time that Killingham and St. Somers have received Omen. The way they got the power boost made it seem like this happens somewhat often, or at least they trained and practiced with this. Yeah, man, I think they're kind of like butt buddies to an extent. And maybe somewhere deep down, when Imu looks at Saint Shepherd Somers and Saint Remo Shifu Killingham, he sees their ancestors. He's like, oh, you know what? Go back 20 generations ago, and that was my guy. Well, maybe not 20 generations. I think it's more like, 10, 11, depending on how often they have kids. But I like to imagine he sees his older friends in these boys, if they were friends. Sai, what the heck is that at 1613? What are you talking about? I just noticed something. When Imu is attacking Harden, his weapon disappears. He's using both hands for Omen, and you can see he doesn't have it until he talks to Somers. It's either Oda forgot or Imu can make it appear and disappear at will like his wings. Oh, that's a good catch. That is a really good catch. Or he probably just put it on the ground, and then because of the framing, you simply don't see it. But yeah, that is a good catch. I like that a lot. This says, to be honest, this Emu design dash behavior feels like a different character from Blob Emu that we are accustomed to. Yeah, I generally agree with this. The only issue is that we've never seen Blob Emu put in a situation like this before. So you could say that Blob Emu would have done the same thing, react the same way. But of course, because he's just simply up at the Holy Land chilling in a flower room, we never get to see this design dash behavior from him. Emu did Zoro and Sanji like Shanks did Loki. Yeah, we still need to see that flashback, man. Emu, where's your king? Luffy, Usopp is right over there. Nani? Dude, Usopp, he's got to get up soon. I still have faith in that guy. And he is nearby the Emu Loki battle. There is a chance God Usopp will defeat the devil and drive him out of Elbaf. You know, I will say this. You know, a lot of people like the idea of Usopp dying. I'm personally not on that boat. I don't think any Straw Hat's going to die until they hit the One Piece or until we get an epilogue. But if we wanted to skirt around an Usopp death, we could have it to where Usopp loses a limb. I mean, dude, Emu is the limb collector, right? Stanson's leg, Garrett's fingers. What's next? If he chops off Usopp's arm, or I don't know, gets his eye or cuts his nose or something, I think that would be kind of cool. And then, of course, we could simply stitch it back on, or he does turn into a cyborg like Frankie talked about earlier. I don't think that'd be bad. Or maybe Usopp dies, and people are going to hate this, but Usopp dies, and then Luffy brings him back to life. Kind of like Naruto. I hate it, dude. I know. People don't like that I keep on bringing up Naruto, but it's hard not to. It's another iconic shonen series. It's super long running. You know, we got some similar plot points here or there. Love Naruto too. But, you know, Naruto, spoiler alert, brings Might Guy back to life after he 1v1s Madara. Maybe Usopp 1v1s Emu, and he does die. He dies a brave warrior's death, but then he gets brought back to life somehow, some way. Maybe it's Elbaf medicine. Maybe it's Luffy's white Nika flame. That could be in the cards. You know, people like to point out the latest One Piece opening, where you have all the Straw Hats running in Elbaf. They're going forward, and then Usopp's walking, and then he simply stops, and they're like, oh, it's a death flag. He's gonna die. And it's like, hey, if you want a death, maybe he comes back later. I don't know. Is that too cheesy? A Straw Hat dying then getting brought back to life. I don't know how the community would react to that. Personally, I don't think it'd be awful. You know, if done right, if the execution is good, I think it would be a nice sacrifice and a nice emotional moment, but not a lot of people feel that way too. And I think that's very fair. You know, it's all subjective. You don't have to like that plot point. And hell, we're just spitballing ideas here, right? It's not like that's guaranteed to happen anytime soon. The panel of Loki at the end is tough AF. Hope he gets a good few hits in and doesn't just get hype tooled like Sanji and Zoro. I think he'll get some good hits in, but at the end of the day, I can't imagine Loki winning, man. Dude, Emu just seems too damn powerful. Sanji's eyebrows actually did swap Win into attack, and then swap back just as he was about to get hit by Emu, as he said, wow, yes, this is true. I missed this in my review. I said that Sanji did not go Jirma mode. I was wrong. He did go Jirma mode for the initial attack, so it was Ifrit Jambe. But when he was getting kicked, it did go back to normal. I wonder if that's going to be a mistake, or if that was purposeful, like it's on, it's off, or, you know, if we could just go back and say, oh, like it actually is supposed to be swapped still, but because so many people work on this manga, the eyebrows kind of slip through the cracks, which I think is fine. You know, of course, when it comes to One Piece volumes, with every volume release comes a laundry list of fixes and changes of small stuff like this. So I do think that is going to be kind of interesting to witness later. Thank God it's not some Yamato cover page that we'd spend 10 minutes on. Hey. That's fair. You know, people are sick of Yamato, but the thing is, with Yamato comes great discussions, man. Like, Yamato dancing naked in the streets like Odin. People love that idea. Seeing the community arguing which one of their boys, Zoro-Sanji, got no diff worse as a way to say who is stronger is crazy work. I saw people saying this. Yeah, people were actually arguing like, oh, you know, Zoro was using King of Hell mode, but I mean, I didn't see the Black Lightning, which there was Black Lightning there. And then as far as Sanji getting kicked, they're like, oh, you know, Imu actually had to move his body to beat Sanji. He stood still to beat Zoro. It's like, dude, what is going on out here, brother? It is hilarious. Imu casually cutting off limbs could explain Joy Boy's peg leg. I don't think he has a peg leg. I do think this is simply because of the manga paneling and because it's a faraway shot. But in the anime, you get a clearer view of Joy Boy's feet, and it actually doesn't look like a peg leg. This says, in Zoro's defense, he did say, I will become the king of hell. So he obviously still has a ways to go. That is some good optimism, brother. That is some good optimism. Summers, in killing him, expressing genuine happiness upon receiving the Omen buff, gives me hope that this is also a type of DPS buff. As funny as their L's have been, they're mainly just disappointing, yes. And here's the thing. If this buff is overpowered, my God, just imagine what this buff would look like on the Gorosei, on Shamrock, on the rest of the God Knights. If MAKI is like a 10 times multiplier, dude, we're gonna have to reevaluate Shamrock and the entirety of the Gorosei again. That is how crazy this could be come next chapter. This comment says, Sai hits 4:30 a.m. Fun fact, I actually don't sleep until around 7:30 a.m., so this chapter came out at the perfect time. Sai, having Imu's pentagram on the wall is actually insane. Hey, it's a good pentagram. I got that from the One Piece official store in Japan. I actually went on vacation during that break week where we got the Imu reveal, and I did pick this bad boy up. I had to snag it, man. I'm sure you guys can find it online if you want it. But yeah, it's actually a bath mat, which I command stripped to the wall. Command strips are amazing, by the way. I used to nail things to my apartment walls all the time, but ever since I learned about the existence of command strips, it's made my life so much easier. New theory, MAKI is the ancient Mother Flame, which Imu absorbed 800 years ago to defeat Joy Boy, and now his reserves are depleted due to continuous use of it. That is why he needs Vegapunk to create Mother Flame to refill his flame. That's not a bad theory. I mean, another character we could throw in here is Joy Boy. You know, Joy Boy being the sun god Nika of the past. He could have also eaten the Mother Flame, but this is nice. And then the reason why the Mother Flame currently is purple is because Vegapunk simply made a mistake. It reminds me of like the Kaido thing, right? Oh, Momonosuke's fruit, it's a failure, it's awful. What's wrong with it? Well, have you seen the color? It's pink. Maybe the same thing happened there, where it's like, oh, the Mother Flame, it's almost perfect. What's wrong with it? Well, it's not black. Maybe you're cooking, Keep in mind, this is a nerfed lower world Imu. The first transformation on a time limit. No grimoire brought out yet, and confirmed introduction to Conqueror's Haki, MAKI, demonic power versus Haki willpower. Yeah, Imu is insane, and I don't know if this is going to be a factor later on, but his age, dude, he is potentially 900 years old plus. Unless he received the Eternal Youth Surgery, he might not even be in his prime. As crazy as it is to say. Usopp shooting some salt into Imu's mouth. I don't know if you guys ever go on TikTok, but I love the memes where it's like, oh, all the Straw Hats getting beaten left and right. You know, Zoro's getting Conqueror's Haki, Sanji's getting Ifrit Jambi and all this crazy stuff too. And then we have Usopp who's simply shooting beans at people. And it's like, yeah, we need an Usopp buff. I don't know what kind of buff he's gonna get, but I do think he needs one for sure. The moment Luffy learns his Delphi powers is based on his imagination, and not just rubber. Luffy is going to be diabolical. Oh yeah. And I mean, even the Sun God thing. Dude, how can Luffy be the Sun God? Of course, he doesn't know yet. And he hasn't really utilized flames in Gear 5th. Red Hawk, Red Rock, where is the Gear 5th variant? I think he hasn't shown it yet because his fires are going to be overpowered as hell. That white flame's going to be diabolical, man. Just watch. Imu has officially matched the hype we all expected and will probably outdo our expectations. I hope Loki has a smaller, more compact form, because being that big is almost just begging to get your limbs chopped. I hope so too. He either needs to size down, or his hybrid form has to be very, very, very agile, which I do believe in. You know, if he's going to get the dragon wings on his back, yes, I do think there's a chance he'll be as fast as freaking lightning. The only way Luffy accepts he has the Nika fruit is if Shanks tells him directly. He will not believe anyone else. Yeah, I agree. You know, Luffy is very dense. Love Luffy, but he is not the smartest cookie in the box. And because he's believed he's had the rubber fruit for all these years, yeah, you know, it's going to take a lot of convincing to get Luffy to accept this. And the funniest thing, too, is that the Straw Hats more or less know that Luffy doesn't have the Gumu Gumu no Mi. Remember, Vegapunk told Nami, Usopp, I think Frankie was there too. There's a good amount of people who heard that the Gumu Gumu no Mi doesn't even exist, that he's the white warrior of liberation. Did they try to tell Luffy about that afterwards? They had like a 3-day trip to Elbaf. Did any single person say, hey, Luffy, I don't think you have the Gumu Gumu no Mi, brother? Nobody? Come on, man, come on. So now for the last one, this says Rox had the balls to threat that thing face to face. To be fair, he threatened the blob, and then he also did not want to fight it. I love, you know, going back to the narrator box where they said that Rox knew what he could and could not do at that time, and then he simply left. The fact that Emu didn't fight him, pretty crazy, by the way. Like, Emu could have easily dealt with Rox in the past, which I know sounds slanderous, but Emu's like top 1 right now, right? Out of the living characters in the series, Emu's just absurd. But with that being said, we're going to go and end the video here. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, checking out this video all the way until the end. I really freaking appreciate it. Minor plugs. Yes, I have an anime reaction channel right here called Somnus Reacts, where I'm reacting to ReZero in the current One Piece anime. So if that does tickle your fancy, make sure to go down there and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And of course, I have Syvduck right over here, where I'm currently reviewing Kagarbachi, playing random horror games, and reacting to random content. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check that out too. And that's pretty much it. Again, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out, stay safe, and take care, brothers.